For 5 seasons, Stranger Things made us believe one simple thing. The Upside Down is another dimension, another world, another map. But episodes 5, 6, and 7 just ripped that idea apart. Because Volume 2 doesn't just give us new scenes, it gives us new rules. And once you see the rules, you realize we've been watching a D&D campaign this whole time. And we just hit the part where the Dungeon Master flips the page and says, okay, final arc. Here's the big picture. Episode 5 reveals Will isn't powered, he's connected. Episode 6 reveals the Upside Down isn't a dimension, it's a wormhole gate. Episode 7 reveals what's on the other side of that gate, the Abyss, a realm of pure chaos and evil. And if you're a D&D fan, you already know what that means. But even if you've never rolled a die in your life, I'm going to make it simple, because Stranger Things just changed the endgame. This is no longer beat Vecna. This is close the gate before reality collapses, and somebody gets trapped in the hallway. Let's start with the moment that should have made everyone sit up. Episode 5. Will finally says the quiet part out loud. He isn't the next 11. He isn't awakening hidden powers. He says, I don't have powers, I'm siphoning. I'm stealing Vecna's. That's the biggest mechanical reveal the show has ever given us about Will. Because it means Will's ability isn't a gift, it's access. He's not a battery, he's a cable. And the crew actually explains it in the most normal person way possible. They call him a human antenna. Drive him around like a human antenna. That is not a joke. That is the show describing range. Signal strength, proximity, which is exactly why Will can't train his way into being stronger like 11 does. He doesn't own the power. He borrows it when he gets close enough to Vecna's network. If you want the D&D comparison, here's the easiest one. 11 is like a wizard in a story. Study, practice, push limits. Will is like a warlock, but twisted. Because a warlock doesn't create power. They channel power from a patron. The difference is, Will didn't choose the pact. Vecna forced it on him. And episode 5 proves it's not just a theory. They literally try to boost Will's connection like it's a signal problem. They take a dead Demogorgon and pump it with electricity, Frankenstein style, to wake up what's still inside it. That's science on the surface. But in fantasy terms, it's a ritual. They're using a corpse as a focus, a conduit, a spell component. Because they're not trying to resurrect the monster. They're trying to resurrect the connection. And for a moment, it works. Will gets in. He hacks the network. He grabs the wheel. That one moment matters because it proves something huge for the finale. Vecna's system can be hijacked, which is why Joyce drops the most important line in episode 5. Stab him with his own sword. That sounds like a normal motivational line until you remember what D&D Vecna lore is built on. Vecna doesn't lose because someone outmuscles him. He loses because something inside his own world turns on him. A betrayal, a blade, a weapon that was supposed to serve him. So Joyce is basically giving us the endgame theme in one sentence. Beat him with his own connection. Stab him with his own sword. And while episode 5 is showing us Will is the access point, it's also showing us Vecna's plan is bigger than Will. Because Vecna says a word that changes the stakes instantly. Vessels. He calls the kidnapped kids weak, easily controlled, perfect vessels. Then the show says the number, all 12. That's not he kidnapped 12 kids. That's the circle is complete. That's the ritual has enough components now. And Vecna's speech to those kids is the most sinister part. Because he doesn't speak like a monster. He speaks like a recruiter. He promises a new world. He promises safety. He promises the light. He tells them they're special, that they have dormant powers, that they'll be heroes. That isn't mind control. That's a bargain. In D&D terms, that's the difference between a spell that forces you and a spell that binds you because you believe you chose it. A devil's deal, a compelled quest, and he seals it with a clock. Tomorrow it begins. So episode 5 gives us 3 key rules. Rule 1, Will's power is borrowed. It's a tether. Rule 2, Vecna is building a ritual network using 12 vessels. Rule 3, Vecna isn't just controlling with fear, he's controlling with hope. Now episode 6 takes that foundation and detonates the biggest myth in the entire series. The Upside Down is not a dimension. It's not another world. It's a wormhole, a bridge, a gate. And the show says it so clearly, it almost feels like they're teaching a class. Dustin explains the wall inside the lab is being held together by one stabilizer: exotic matter. A single energy source holding the giant wall together. This is the moment where Stranger Things stops being mystery horror and becomes cosmology. Because suddenly, the Upside Down isn't a place. It's a mechanism. It's plumbing. It's a doorway humanity helped install. And then Dustin realizes the worst part. Nancy shot the exotic matter sphere. Even if it didn't shatter, she disturbed it. And now the bridge is unstable. That's why episode 6 turns the building into a physics nightmare. Gravity stops behaving. Floors become traps. Reality inside that space starts breaking. The show basically turns the environment into the monster. Because they didn't just anger Vecna. They poked the keystone holding the gate open. This is one of the cleanest D&D parallels you'll ever see on screen. In a campaign, you don't just have a bad guy. You have a win condition. And one of the most classic win conditions is close the gate. Not kill every monster. Not punch the boss harder. Close the gate or the world ends. Episode 6 even says the quiet part out loud. Killing Henry won't end this. That line matters because it tells you the real threat isn't just Vecna as a person. It's the gate as a structure. If the bridge is open, the invasion continues. And that's when episode 6 drops the most chilling line in the entire volume. When they ask what's on the other side of the wall, the answer is simple: death. Not the Upside Down. Not a room. Not a prison. Death. Because that wall inside the lab isn't the doorway to where the kids are being held. It's the raw seam of space the bridge passes through. A void. A place you can't survive. And once you accept that, you realize something terrifying. The Upside Down was never the destination. It was always the hallway. Now here's what episode 6 does that's even smarter. It gives you the how and the why for the finale in a way that feels like D&D. It introduces a quest item, a map, the cave. They start noticing shapes that line up like a puzzle piece. They talk about it leading to a secret location. That's Dungeon Design 101. When a story introduces a map to a hidden place, right as the apocalypse ramps up, it's because that hidden place contains the weakness, the hinge, the anchor, the point where the gate can be controlled or severed. And then episode 7 arrives and says, okay, you think you understand what's happening? You don't. Because episode 7 names the realm on the other side of the bridge, the Abyss. Dustin says he coined the term, a realm of pure chaos and evil. And Mike immediately calls it out, D&D. That is the show confirming the framework in plain language. If you're a casual viewer, the Abyss just sounds like a scary word. If you're a D&D viewer, the Abyss is a very specific kind of place. Not just evil, chaotic evil. A plane, not a planet. A realm that doesn't obey normal rules. A place where monsters don't just live, they originate. So when Dustin connects the Abyss to the Demogorgons, the Vines, the Mind Flayer, all of it, he's doing two things. He's telling you this is the true home ecosystem of the monster army. And he's reframing Henry's entire arc. Henry wasn't living in the Upside Down as his home. He was banished deeper. Then the bridge formed. Then the army began crossing. Which means the Upside Down isn't a world Vecna created. It's the corridor between Hawkins and a hellplane. And if that's true, the endgame isn't just stop Vecna. The endgame is stop the merge. Because episode 7 makes it clear that Vecna is drawing the two worlds together. Not opening a door for a raid, pulling the entire realm closer until it overlaps. That's not an attack, that's an apotheosis level ritual. A world rewrite. And suddenly, those 12 vessels from episode 5 make perfect sense. They're not hostages, they're amplifiers. They're nodes in the circuit pulling a plane into reality. And now we get to Operation Beanstalk. This is where Stranger Things becomes the most D&D looking story imaginable, because the plan is structured like a final module encounter. Dustin explains it with props. They can't climb into the abyss right now, but as Vecna draws the worlds together, rifts appear. The radio tower is positioned so that when the overlap happens, the tower will poke through, and that creates the beanstalk, a climbable path between worlds, a literal dungeon ladder into the boss realm. Then 11 has a job. She goes into Vecna's mind and stops the spell. That pause is everything. In a fantasy campaign, this is the interrupt ritual moment. You don't stop the villain by fighting everyone in the room. You stop the villain by breaking concentration, interrupt the casting, stagger the boss, create a window, and during that window, the party climbs, rescues the kids, and then finishes the boss in his own arena. That's why the beanstalk metaphor is perfect. It's a fairy tale image, but it's also a D&D cosmology idea. Planes don't always connect through doors you walk through. Sometimes they connect through routes, axes, paths. And episode 7 makes that concept visual. The tower becomes the axis, the climb becomes the route, and the time window becomes the tension. Because if they fail, the worlds keep merging. And if the worlds merge, it's not a monster invasion. It's reality becoming a part of the abyss. Then, Dustin adds the final DM-coded win condition. The bomb. Collapse the bridge. Shut the gate permanently. Because in D&D terms, the clean victory isn't kill every monster. The clean victory is destroy the portal focus and end the campaign. And that's where all 3 episodes combine into one terrifying truth. Episode 5 taught you will is a tether into Vecna's system. Episode 6 taught you the Upside Down is a bridge held together by a keystone. Episode 7 taught you what that bridge leads to, the abyss. And then it gave you the final raid plan: interrupt the ritual, climb the beanstalk, rescue the vessels, kill Vecna, collapse the gate, game set match. But there's one more detail episode 7 adds that should make you uneasy, because it gives you the weakness location clue: the cave. Max reveals Henry had a cave memory he feared, a place he wouldn't enter. That's not just character flavor, that's dungeon logic. The boss's fear is usually tied to the boss's weakness. The hidden room, the anchor point, the thing he can't look at because it breaks him. So put it all together and you get the real shape of Season 5's endgame. This isn't a normal final battle. It's a planar collapse scenario, a gate spell held open by a keystone, a hellplane being dragged into the real world through 12 living amplifiers, a party plan that requires a timed interrupt, and a climb into the abyss before the window closes, which means the biggest question isn't who dies, it's who gets left behind. Because in every great D&D campaign, the final win condition comes with a price. Close the gate, collapse the bridge, seal the passage, and sometimes the only way to do that is from the inside. So if episodes 5 to 7 are telling us anything, it's this: Stranger Things isn't ending with a punch. It's ending with a choice. And that choice is going to look exactly like the oldest fantasy ending in the book. Someone has to be the one who stays on the other side when the door slams shut.